Frege's picture. But of course, once you think about really how we use names, the name Aristotle is just a tag for this guy. It might turn out that description is not true of Aristotle. There's no one privilege description that's true of Aristotle at all. And Selle's picture gets that because all you've got associated with the name is this loose rag bag of descriptions. So if a name is getting tied up to an object by being associated with a sense, and the sense just is a description, then the description can't be false of the object. That doesn't make any sense. If that's the description that's fixing the reference of Aristotle, then it's a priori that Aristotle is the teacher of Alexander the Great who was born in Stagira. Yeah, that's all right, you see, that's what Frege's account implies. But that seems to be a mistake. Frege's account implies that this is a priori. Aristotle was the teacher of Alexander the Great who was born in Stagira. But it's not a priori. It might turn out to be a mistake. What Selle's catching there is that idea that names are just tags. They don't really descriptively identify the object. So if you take this approach, Selle says, you can't explain why Tullius Tully is a priori and analytic, but Tullius Cicero is not. You can explain Frege's puzzle of uninformative and informative identities. That's Selle's spin. Not quite obvious how that goes. I'm sorry, oh yes, right. I'm sorry, I misspoke. Frege's approach explains why Tullius Tully is an informative and Tullius Cicero is not. Because you have the same description associated fixing the reference of Tully here, and the same description associated with Tully on the right. You have the same description fixing the reference both times. Therefore, the identity is going to be uninformative. If you yourself associate different descriptions with Tully and Cicero, then the description is going to be uninformative. Where does Frege's account? Is that what I said? Oh, okay. That's following this. Let me take this from the top. If you as an individual speaker associate one description with Tully on the left hand and the same description with Tully on the right in A, right, then that is uninformative. Could you imagine things uninformative? Yes, thank you. Okay. With B, if you as an individual speaker associate a different description with Tully than you do with Cicero, then the identity is think it's uninformative. Informative? Thank you. Okay, so that's Frege's picture. And the great advantage of that approach is it can't explain why A is a priori analytic and B is not. Yeah? But now, the drawback is, the thing that's getting you that advantage there also is implying that remarks like this, Aristotle was the teacher of Alexander the Great who was born in Stagira, is also implying that that kind of remark is a priori and analytic. And what I've just been suggesting, what Selle is saying is, remarks like that are never a priori and analytic. It could always turn out that you were wrong about that kind of thing, just as it could turn out that you were wrong in thinking that Mitt Romney said that populations are people. You might just make a mistake. You're still tagging the object all right. So in Selle's picture, what's hooking up the name to the object is this loose, indeterminate, socially generated cluster. It's a big bag of descriptions generated by the society as a whole. And any one description in the bag could be dropped. You don't have to know one description in the bag has a privileged position. All you say is, the name refers to whatever meets all or most or weighted most of all those descriptions. Any one of them might turn out to be wrong. So Selle gets it right that it's not a priori or analytic that Aristotle is a teacher of Alexander the Great who was born in Stagira. Selle nails that. He explains why that's not a priori. And Selle's approach also has the advantage that it can explain how anything that meets most of the cluster of descriptions, how there could turn out that you could say such a thing as Homer doesn't exist, or Aristotle doesn't exist, there's no such person, because it might turn out that there was nothing that met all or most of that cluster of descriptions. It just turned out there was no such thing meeting that. So the name would still have meaning, but it wouldn't be referring to anything. So those are two advantages of Selle's theory. Yep. Uh-huh. That's an interesting issue. Can Selle move backwards from the name to the descriptions? Well, I mean, I guess my first feeling is that that would mean that the miller's daughter, if she just read Selle, should have been able to figure out his name. But that can't be right. Yeah? Is that a soundtrack? Right. You see what I mean? The thing is that the bag of descriptions might be pretty big. I mean, that's a bag of descriptions, right? There's all those descriptions. It's got all those descriptions in it. But they may not be, I mean, they typically won't be exhaustive. I mean, Mitt Romney may have all kinds of hidden lives, hidden secrets that are not in this bag. Yeah, so there may be the Mitt Romney known only to his family and closest friends. Yeah, quite different bag of descriptions over here. Just from the object, just from the object, you can't work back to which bag of descriptions it is. Yeah, so I think, I mean, it's an interesting question, and I see why you say it, because I said the individual was just generating all those descriptions. But any of us who has a hidden life that many people don't know about, I said family and closest friends, but maybe even they don't know. So no one in society is a knowledge of that collection of descriptions, but they still may be true of you. So you can't tell just by looking at the object which bag of descriptions are going to be radiating in the community. Yeah. One. I think that's what he's thinking. I think it really is an interesting and difficult question, though, whether that really makes sense. Because what matters for informativeness is what's going on in the head of the individual. Yeah. There might be a different bag of, I mean, if I can now use this as a bag of descriptions associated with Tully and a bag of descriptions associated with Cicero, these are both socially generated. They might be different. That's what you began by saying, and that's what Selle would say. They're different bags of descriptions, different dossiers. But that doesn't seem to me to tell you anything about what's going to be informative or uninformative at the level of the individual, because you don't know which descriptions the individual knows to be true of Tully or knows to be true of Cicero. You see what I mean? Yeah. And it's a puzzle how you would get from that remark about what's going on in the social language as a whole to the psychology of the individual. Because informative and uninformative seem to have to do with the psychology of the individual. Yeah. Are you still? What was the first one? Good question. I said sales attract two advantages. I think I was only saying one advantage. Oh no, two advantages. Sorry. One is why this kind of remark isn't a priori or analytic. That's all right. It's not. And Sel explains that, and Frege doesn't. Yeah. If that's not plain as day, I haven't explained it correctly. Is that plain as day? It's plain but not as day. Come back to that in a minute. Let me come back to that if you can tell me what's problematic about that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, it's only analytic conditionally on that being the description you associate with the name Aristotle. If the description you're using to fix the reference of the name is the teacher of Alexander the Great who was born in Stagira, then it's a priori that Aristotle is the teacher of Alexander the Great who was born in Stagira. And you might need to add, if such a person exists, yeah. But given that, it has to be a priori. Yeah. Right. Uh-huh. I think this is fair. You should look at the text and check that I'm right about this. But I think it is fair to say that the way Searle is trying to account for that is to say it's the same bag of descriptions that is associated with two uses of the name Tully in society. And that's what explains why that's uninformative. And it's a different bag of descriptions, as someone said actually, associated with the name Tully as is associated with the name Cicero. Right? That's what explains why this is informative, the Tully is Cicero. The Tully is Tully? Well, it's the same bag of descriptions. I see what you mean. It's not that any one description is fixing the reference, right? But this bag of descriptions, that's the only mechanism there is for fixing the reference. It's whatever meets a good majority of this lot, whichever ones it is. And so it's the same mechanism fixing the reference of Tully both times. He would say it is not informative. The Tully is Tully. He would agree with Frege on that. Yeah. One, two. Yeah. That's right. I mean, for Frege, if you associate the description of the teacher of Alexander the Great who was born in Stagira with the name Aristotle, then this will be analytic. You just read that off from the meaning of the name. If I associate the last great philosopher of antiquity as my description for Aristotle, as my description fixes the reference of Aristotle, then this will not be analytic. Yeah, because it could be that the last great philosopher of antiquity was not the teacher of Alexander the Great who was born in Stagira. He is okay with that. That's what he says about variations in sense can happen, but he says sternly it wouldn't happen in a properly regulated language. Right? We should be keeping things in line. But it seems like if we don't, which we actually don't, he says, then it'll be relative to an individual what's analytic and what isn't. One, two. Yes. Mitt Romney. Yeah, he's not just anybody. Yeah. That's very interesting. I mean, I agree. We do use names like that. You can say, but this is Shakespeare. Someone says something or whatever. Yeah. Okay, so what do you say about that? I mean, it's presumably the same bag of descriptions associated both times with Mitt Romney. Yeah. Right. That could happen, and then in a way it would be easier because we call him Mitt when it's just family. But we would say Mitt Romney when we're referring to the political figure. Yeah. The trouble with that is there's going to be all kinds of overlap between these two bags in that kind of situation. So it's not going to be a cleanly distinguished set of dossiers. Yeah. Because after all, what about your second cousin? You see what I mean? Where Mitt is not just family exactly, because he really gets most of his information about Mitt from the papers, but he's also a little bit of an insider. You see what I mean? Yeah. That's right. I mean, it may be that they don't really make sense. It may be that they're really uninformative. It's rather that, the importance of them is not so much in what they explicitly state, as in, why would you say that? You see what I mean? If I say, look, Shakespeare is Shakespeare, or if I say, total war is total war, then it's not, or, victory is victory, then it's not that these are informative identities exactly. It's just that in my saying them, I'm trying to remind you of what we're talking about here. You see what I mean? So sometimes it could be that stating an uninformative identity is actually having a valuable point, but not because it's communicating something substantive. So but I think the situation's interesting and complicated with these kind of examples. Well, things are hotting up. I do want to get to the end here, but can we just have 1, 2, 3, and just say this, ask your question quickly and I'll try to give a short answer rather than doing that for half an hour. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's that notion of properly in the bag that's hard to make out. I mean, if you think about what the ground floor phenomena of language here are, namely people being asked to volunteer descriptions, it's a bit difficult to know what's properly in the bag and what's not. You see what I mean? You might be able to draw some such distinction, but it's not trivial. Yeah. Yeah, they look, the way I draw the picture, they look very similar. So this is Searle's picture, and this is Frege's. Yeah, the big difference is, this is generated by an individual, whereas in Searle's picture, this is generated by the society that's using the name. Yeah, so Frege's picture is a Humpty Dumpty picture. I get to decide what sense my sign has. Searle's picture is the exact opposite of that. You just have to hold yourself responsible to this publicly generated set of descriptions. Last one. Yeah. It's a very natural idea to have. If you've come across Wittgenstein's idea that what all games have in common is not only one thing. You can play a game of cards, you can have a swimming contest, they're all games, but what do they have in common? Do they all involve water? No. Do they all involve teens? No. There's no one thing games have in common, just crisscrossing resemblances. So you might think that about these banks of descriptions. Yeah. It really is an interesting idea and worth pursuing that. The only quick comment I would have on that is that when Wittgenstein was talking about family resemblances, he was talking about the things we're talking about, the games out there in the world that we're talking about. Whereas here, we're not talking, the thing we're talking about is Mitt Romney, or whatever it is, yeah? And, of course, Mitt has family resemblances to the rest of his family, but that's not what you mean, right? You're talking about something at the level of sense, yeah? And so it's just different to what Wittgenstein meant. Wittgenstein was talking about something at the level of reference, at the level of what we're talking about. But that's just something to bear in mind. Nonetheless, what you say is worth following that up, I think. Okay, I think we only have 2 minutes left, so I am going to just cut to the chase on my killer example here. I looked at, this is a remark from the great UCLA philosopher David Kaplan. He says, and I think if you know Kaplan, Kaplan loves a kind of vaudeville crosstalk, and you can just imagine, you get an insight into the home life of a great philosopher here. My mother's primary care physician is Dr. Shapiro. He referred her to a specialist, another Dr. Shapiro as it happened. My mother reported her gratitude to Dr. Shapiro for sending her to Dr. Shapiro, and compared the virtues of Dr. Shapiro to those of Dr. Shapiro in a blithe piece of discourse, clearly oblivious to the homonymy. I was racing to keep up, which I was strangely able to do. Now you can imagine that situation, right? Now, in that case, the identity, one Dr. Shapiro seems to have a different sense to the other. But actually, out there in the community, there might be only one Dr. Shapiro. Maybe the mother made a mistake. Maybe she thought this was a specialist coming into the room, and it was actually the same old Dr. Shapiro without his hat. That could happen. Yeah? I suppose that happens. Then I've got just one, assigned Dr. Shapiro with just one bag of descriptions in the community being associated with it. When I say Dr. Shapiro, is Dr. Shapiro really a more empathetic human being than Dr. Shapiro? I say. Yeah? Then I'm actually tapping into the same bag of descriptions twice. I just don't realize that I am. That could happen. I'll give more examples next time. But for right now, the point is that this account of the meaning of a name seems incapable of recognizing that it could happen informatively. That you suddenly say, it's the same man. Dr. Shapiro is Dr. Shapiro. And that could be informative. More of this on Wednesday. Okay, thanks.